Good evening, everybody. My name is Christy. I'm from the Student Doctor Network. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate you taking some time to spend with us. Tonight we have Lauren Siegel from the the Association of American Medical Colleges, better known as the AAMC. She's here to give us an overview of the Medical College Admissions Test, which you know as the MCAT, and to answer your questions about the test. Lauren is an MCAT outreach specialist at the AAMC. She specializes in social media, online communications, and presentation outreach to share information to pre-meds and pre-health advisors about the new exam and preparation resources available. In a similar capacity, Lauren is also part of the AAMC's pre-med outreach team, dedicated to helping pre-med students navigate their careers to medicine. For more information about pre-med resources and information, you can follow Lauren and the AAMC pre-med team on Facebook and Twitter at AAMC pre-med. For questions, resources, and tips about the exam specifically, you can follow her at AAMC_MCAT. Lauren, thanks so much for being here tonight. Throughout the presentation, if you have questions, you can enter those in the questions box to your right. At the end of the presentation, Lauren will answer as many of those as we have time for. So, all right, Lauren, from here, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, my name is Lauren Siegel, and I work at the Association of American Medical Colleges. If you're unfamiliar with the AAMC, we're a nonprofit organization located in Washington, D.C., and we represent the nation's medical schools and teaching hospitals. We provide support and services to our pre-medical students as well as to those medical students, residents, and faculty at the 144 medical schools and nearly 400 teaching hospitals. So with that, let's get started. So here's just an overview of what I plan to talk with you about today. We'll do a brief overview of the MCAT exam. We'll talk about how the exam is organized and the content of the exam. We'll look at how the exam is scored. We'll go over some test day logistics to be aware of. We'll also cover a little bit about the fee assistance program. And then I'll finish talking about all of the test preparation resources that are available, as well as a few new ones that we've recently just released. At the end, again, we'll have plenty of time to answer any questions that you might have. So you all know that you have to take the MCAT exam, but what exactly is it? So the MCAT stands for the Medical College Admissions Test. It's created and administered by the AAMC. The MCAT exam is a standardized multiple choice exam that's required by almost all U.S. and Canadian medical schools to be submitted with your application. The purpose of this exam is really to assess your problem solving, critical thinking, and your knowledge of the natural, behavioral, and social science concepts and principles required for the study of medicine. As many of you probably already know, a new version of the MCAT exam was launched this year. We launched the new version in April 2015. The changes made to the exam reflect the changes in medicine and science and the skills future physicians will need to practice in a rapidly changing healthcare delivery system. And it's always important to remember that the MCAT exam is just one part of your overall application to medical school. So let's look a little bit about how the exam is structured. So the MCAT exam includes 4 sections. Again, they're all multiple choice. There are 2 natural sciences sections, the biological and biochemical foundations of living systems section, and the chemical and physical foundations of biological systems. There's a behavioral and social sciences section, the psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior, as well as a critical analysis called the critical analysis and reasoning skills section. So the concepts that are tested in each of these sections are taught at most undergraduate institutions in introductory biology, chemistry, physics, as well as introductory psychology, sociology, and first semester biochemistry. All the research methods and statistic concepts that you need to demonstrate are taught in your introductory bio, chem, and physics courses, as well as your biochem courses and labs. as well as in those introductory psych and social courses. Keep in mind that undergraduate course requirements vary by institution, so we encourage you to talk with your pre-health advisor or even a faculty member at your institution to help you with course selection. So let's look a little bit about how each of these sections are specifically organized. And we'll talk about the first, we'll talk about three of them first, which are the natural and behavioral sciences sections, because they have the same underlying structure to them. So as you can see from the image on your screen, the three sections, the biological and biochemical foundations of living systems section, the chemical and physical foundations of biological systems, and the psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior section are organized around what are called foundational concepts. The foundational concepts is just another way to say the big ideas in the sciences. In total, there are 10 foundational concepts that make up these three sections. And within each of the foundational concepts, there are what are called content categories. And content categories are just the topics and subtopics that you need to know in order to really understand those big ideas in the sciences or the foundational concepts. And each of the concepts and skills tested in these sections of the exam consider changes in what you need to know in order to be successful in medical school. Another important aspect of these three sections is how you demonstrate your ability to apply knowledge. This new version of the exam asks you to solve problems by combining your knowledge of the concepts described by the content categories, again, just those topics and subtopics, with one of your 4 scientific inquiry and reasoning skills, and those skills are listed on the screen in front of you. So what does this mean? So this means that each question on the new exam requires both the knowledge of the content as well as a demonstration of one of these skills. So most of the new exam questions will ask you to reason about information that's been presented in passages, and many of those passages include graphs, tables, or charts. And again, any of the research methods and statistic concepts on the exam are those that you would see in your introductory science lab, as well as your introductory psych and social courses. The last section of the exam that we haven't covered is the critical analysis and reasoning skills section. This section is very similar to other reasoning tests that you've taken throughout your academic careers. It includes passages and questions that test your ability to comprehend what you read. The difference between this section and the other 3 sections on the exam is that there's no disciplinary knowledge required to be successful on this section of the exam. The critical analysis and reasoning skills section will pull from the humanities and social sciences disciplines. It will emphasize topics like population health, ethics, and the studies of diverse cultures. And all of the information that you need to answer the questions is provided in the passages and the questions themselves. So that's a really brief overview of how each of those 4 sections are organized. But all this information and more can be found at the tool that's on your screen. And this is actually just a screenshot of the landing page of the tool. It's called What's on the MCAT Exam, and it's everything that you need to prepare for the exam. It lists all the foundational concepts, the content categories. You can read through all the content lists, so it's the content of the exam. You can watch videos. You can also see sample questions as well as explanations for those questions. So it's really everything that you need to prepare for the exam. So definitely bookmark this tool so that you can refer to it and review it as much as you need to. So now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about how the exam is scored and what your score reports will look like. So the exam is, again, made up of 4 sections. You'll receive 4 individual section scores, and those sections range from 118 to 132 with means at 125. The MCAT total score ranges from 472 to 528 with a mean at 500. So as you can see, the individual section scores will make up your total score, which is again from 472 to 528. So this is an example of what your score report will look like when you receive your scores. Your score report provides more detail than just your individual and total scores because it's designed to highlight your strengths and weaknesses. It's important to understand all the components of your score report, primarily so that you understand how you did on the exam, but also to understand that this is the same information that admissions committees will be looking at as they're evaluating your readiness for success in their medical school curricula. So let's just quickly walk through the score report. On the left are the section names and the numerical scores. In the middle, you see that there are diamonds, and those diamonds are what we call competence bands. Competence bands are important because they remind you and admissions committees that scores on the MCAT exam, just like any other standardized test, are not perfectly precise. So they're intended to discourage distinctions between applicants with similar scores. To the right of the confidence bands are the percentile ranks. Percentile ranks show how your scores compare to others who took the exam. It's important to note that admissions committees will be looking at percentile rankings much more during the first year of these new scores. The percentile rankings will help them to apply meaning to these numerical scores since we just don't have the same historical data that we've had with the old MCAT exam. And percentile rankings will be the best source of information to help you understand your score. And finally, at the rightmost part of the score report, you will see something called a score profile. And this shows your strengths and weaknesses in just a visual way, and it'll help you maybe focus on sections that you need more practice in if for some reason you should decide to retake the exam. So let's move on and talk a little bit about registration as well as some test day logistics just to keep in mind. So one of the questions that we get a lot is, when should I take the exam? And this is a really good question because deciding to take the MCAT exam is a commitment, and you want to make sure that you're doing it at a time that makes the most sense for you and when you're ready. So the most important thing to remember when thinking about when you should take the exam is to take it when you're ready. Don't take it when you think you should be ready or when your fellow pre-med is going to be taking the exam. This is really a big commitment, so you need to make sure that you're doing it when you're ready. But there are some things that you can keep in mind to help you make this decision. So the first is to know when you want to apply to medical school. So many examinees will consider taking the exam in the year prior to the year they plan to enter medical school. So for example, if you're applying in 2016 for entrance into medical school in 2017, you'd consider taking the exam in 2016. Understand the potential for retesting. None of us like to think about having to take the exam more than once, but if you're somebody who thinks that they might need to retake the exam more than once, you might think about making your first attempt on the exam earlier in the year. This gives you plenty of time to receive your scores back, make a decision, and then find a testing date later in the year that will give you enough time to review the content and do more studying. Also think about how much you've mastered the content. The MCAT exam doesn't require that you complete any specific courses in order to be eligible to take the exam. However, there may be certain coursework or certain classes that you might consider taking that will help you better understand those concepts. And if that's the case, where you think that you would benefit from taking a course before taking the exam, you might consider taking the exam later in the testing year But again, you're the best judge of your preparedness for taking the exam. Also, remember your limits. We're going to talk specifically about this in just a few minutes, but the MCAT exam has new testing limits, so you just need to keep in mind how many times you can actually take the MCAT exam in a given testing year, as well as across years, and we'll go over that in just a second. And then also, it's just important to keep in mind that medical schools will see all of your scores. So from every exam that you attempt and you choose to score, medical schools will see that. So that's just another element to keep in mind. So here's the testing calendar for 2016. There'll be 20 test dates that will run from January and April through September. You will note that we don't have any testing dates in February, March, or October through December. And then you can also see that many of our dates are on Fridays and Saturdays, which this has been indicated that examinees have indicated to us is a preference. Please note that if you're approved for accommodations, you will test over 2 days. The exam is longer, so to accommodate that, all students who are approved with additional testing time will test over 2 days. And finally, scores for all of these dates will be released 30 to 35 days after your exam date. So registration has already opened for some of the dates if you're planning on taking the exam next year. We opened the January through May dates on October 21st, and they're currently open. We'll open the second half of the testing year sometime in February. We haven't announced the specific date yet, but those will be the June through September dates. And we will have more details about that as we get closer. So we recommend that you follow us on Twitter at AAMC_MCAT for updates and announcements about that. We should also note that the cost of the exam for next year is $305. The registration fee will be $115 for examinees who are approved for the fee assistance program, and that will be already indicated when you register if you're approved for fee assistance. So speaking of fee assistance, I just wanted to mention a little bit more about this program in case you aren't aware of it. So the fee assistance program helps those who, without financial assistance, would be unable to take the MCAT exam or apply to medical school. The fee assistance program, one of the biggest things about this program that we can't stress enough is that the benefits that you receive with this program are not retroactive. So it's important to apply for the fee assistance program well before you want to register for the MCAT exam, submit your AMCAT application, or pay for any of the other benefits that you get with the fee assistance program. And we encourage that you consider applying for the fee assistance program as early as possible, but there's about a 2-week turnaround to approve applications. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about registering for the exam, or if you've already registered for the exam and are eligible for fee assistance, applying so that you can use it towards your AMCAT application. So if you're approved for fee assistance, you'll receive a reduced MCAT registration fee. So again, the registration fee is originally $305, but you'll receive it for $115. You'll also receive free MCAT preparation materials, which are provided to you at the time of approval. You'll also receive complimentary access to the medical school admissions requirements website. And then you'll also receive a waiver for all AMCAT fees for one application submission with up to 15 medical school designations. It's important to just keep in mind that if you're approved for fee assistance, many schools will also waive their secondary application fees for those who qualify for fee assistance. If you are awarded for fee assistance and you are applying with accommodations for the MCAT exam, you also have access to up to $500 towards an updated psychoeducational or medical evaluation if it's required to support your MCAT accommodations application. And if you're awarded and you use all of the fee assistance benefits that are provided to you, you'll save more than $2,000. So again, the benefits are not retroactive, so be sure to apply to the program well before you purchase, subscribe, register, or submit anything else to the AAMC because we will not refund you if you've already applied and are approved. Another program I just want to highlight is the hotel discount program. Because the exam is longer, and we'll talk about that more in just a second, we know that some students will have to travel to get to their MCAT testing center. So we've worked with the Hampton Inn and secured a preferred rate for all MCAT examinees who need to stay in a hotel. So you just enter the code on the screen when you're making your hotel reservations, and you'll receive the preferred rate. And all this information is, again, available on our website. Also, Hampton Inns are located within 10 miles of almost all U.S. testing centers, but more information is available on the website. And also, we're excited because we've extended this program to now include students who are traveling for their medical school or even their residency interviews. So let's move on and talk a little bit about test day itself. So all of this information is available in your MCAT Essentials, and I'll talk about that document in just a moment. But the chart on your screen shows you what test day is going to look like. It shows you the order in which the sections of the exam will appear, the number of questions per section, and the time allotted for each. You should notice that the day also includes 2 10-minute breaks as well as 1 30-minute mid-exam break. These breaks are optional, and you can move from one section to the next without taking any of them. But you're not allowed to leave the testing center, so I do encourage you to bring your own food and drinks with you. But the total testing time of actual seat time is 6 hours and 15 minutes, but with all the breaks and signing your examinee agreement and everything else involved, your test day is about 7.5 hours. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we've implemented new testing limits. This was implemented as of April 2015. And we've implemented these because we found that most examinees were able to meet these testing needs and were able to successfully complete their MCAT within these limits. So you are allowed to take the exam 3 times in one testing year. You can take the exam up to 4 times over 2 consecutive years. So if you took the MCAT exam 3 times this past testing season, you could only take the exam 1 more time next year. And then you have a lifetime of 7 attempts. Just keep in mind that voids and no-shows count as attempts. So if you do not show up on test day or you decide not to score your exam, those will count towards your overall testing limit. And finally, I just want to conclude this section with talking about the MCAT Essentials, which I mentioned earlier. This is the official policy and procedure document for the MCAT exam, and it's essential for a reason. We really want you to read this. It includes everything from registration, rescheduling, cancellations, from understanding deadlines, fees, and refunds, things about test day procedures and regulations, information about receiving and sending scores, and then what to do if there's a problem on test day, for example. If you go through this and you take the time to read it, it'll really help to have a more positive testing experience. And also, this is required reading. You do have to certify that you've read it on test day. So please keep in mind that you should read this and to have it bookmarked and refer to it often. It's very helpful and important for you to read. And finally, we'll move on to test preparation and resources that are available to you to help you actually prepare for the exam. So the AAMC is committed to providing examinees with free and low-cost test preparation resources to help you prepare for your exam. All of the questions have been written by the test developers, and it's our mission to make sure that we're constantly developing new preparation products and tools, and we plan to release products at the end of every testing year. So we've broken out our preparation resources and materials into different ways on how you can think about using them. So we'll talk first about the resources to help you understand the exam. So the first, I've already mentioned, it's the What's on the MCAT Exam tool. Again, this is everything that you need to understand the content on the exam. It's a free online resource. We highly recommend that you keep this bookmarked as the content of the exam and that you refer to it frequently. Again, you can watch videos, read through the content, and see sample questions and explanations. Another great resource that we have to help you understand all aspects of the MCAT exam is the official guide to the MCAT exam. It's a comprehensive overview of everything you need to know. It has the content on the exam. It has details about the content and skills tested, information about registration, what to expect on test day, information about scores, and how scores are used in the admissions process. The guide also includes 120 practice questions and includes the explanations for both the incorrect and correct answers. Also, the guide is an ebook as well, so you can take this on the go. The next resources that we'll be talking about are resources to help you practice for the exam. All of the AAMC's official practice materials include the questions that have been written by the test developers. They have the same look, features, and functionality that you'll see on test day, and they really allow you to prepare for all aspects of exam day. And all of these resources are available and accessed online via the MCAT practice site, which is found at www.emcat.com. So the first resource to help you practice is the online official guide questions. These are the same 120 questions in the print version of the official guide. And this is really just to give you a chance to practice in an online format. Again, the exam is taken on a computer, so this just gives you the opportunity to become familiar with taking the exam on a computer. The second resource is the MCAT sample test. The sample test was released in September of 2014, and it's the first full-length exam for practice for the new MCAT exam. It's a full-length exam with 230 questions that have the same features and functionality that you'll see on test day. You can take the exam in a variety of different ways, such as simulating the exam, which allows you to take the exam under timed conditions, or you can work through the exam untimed and view solutions that are convenient for you, so you can view them during or even after the completion of the exam. The sample test includes percent and number correct, as well as explanations of the correct answers. The sample test does not include estimated scoring, and that's because the exam was released before the new MCAT score scale had been set, and our estimated scoring is calculated based on past examinee performance on the actual exam. We suggest that you might consider taking the sample test early in your preparation as a way to establish a baseline of knowledge and to help you kind of identify what you need to study and practice moving forward. The next resource to help you practice is the official MCAT question pack. There are 6 packs in total, and they focus on a specific subject area. Each pack contains 120 questions. It's important to note that the questions within the question pack do come from old MCAT exam practice materials that are now retired. The AAMC went through every practice product we had for the old MCAT exam and hand-selected the questions that were relevant to the new exam. Each pack comes with enhanced solution features and allow you to see the different categories and types of questions that are tested on the exam. And the question packs are a really great way to target a specific subject area that you might need additional practice with. Next, I want to talk about 2 new resources that we released this November, and these are both to help you practice for the exam. The first is Practice Exam 1. This is an all-new full-length practice exam and includes the estimated scoring. It will give you a sense of how you might perform on test day. It's a 230-question practice exam, and it mirrors the actual exam in both length and functionality. You have 20 starts, which means that you can take this exam up to 20 times. Please note that this exam is a completely different exam from the sample test, and it has a complete unique set of questions, again, all written by the test developers. And then the second new resource that we released in November is the MCAT Section Bank. It consists of 300 all-new practice questions in the natural sciences and the behavioral and social sciences. And it emphasizes biochemistry, psychology, and sociology. You can practice with 100 questions at a time, and this allows you to practice with questions as you would see them in the natural and behavioral and social sciences sections on the exam. And each of the 3 100 sections, question sections include 28 discrete or individual questions and 72 passage-based questions. And then finally, we have resources to help you begin studying for the exam as well. So the first resource is the Khan Academy MCAT collection. And if you're not familiar with the Khan Academy, we highly recommend that you go and you check it out. It's a free open access resource, and we collaborated with them and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to create the Khan Academy MCAT collection. It's a free online library of instructional videos and review questions that cover all of the natural and social sciences content on the exam. The videos and review questions were created by talented medical students, faculty, and graduate students who were trained by the Khan Academy. Currently, the collection includes 1,100 videos and 3,000 review questions. And just some fun facts, it gets nearly 50,000 views a day. The collection also now includes 11 passages and associated questions covering the critical analysis and reasoning skills section. And we'll have the complete list of passages and questions for the critical analysis and reasoning skills by the end of the year, so in just a few weeks. And lastly, one resource we have is the Psychology and Sociology textbook resource. And we've had this resource for a while, but we've updated it to be more user-friendly. So it's now just a downloadable PDF. What we did was we reached out to publishers of textbooks in the psychology and sociology disciplines and asked them to map their textbook content to the foundational concepts and content categories on the new exam. This resource provides a roadmap to where the MCAT foundational concepts and content categories can be found in introductory psychology and sociology textbooks, and it helps you focus on your studying to prepare for the exam. Many of these publications are, in fact, open access and free. And as more publishers send us information, we'll continue to update this resource. Also, we just want to make sure that you know that our website is also another great resource for you to get information, updates. We have things like our policies and procedures, information about registration and accommodations, more information about all of the preparation resources that I talked about. We even have tools to help you practice with the features on the exam. We have FAQs and a couple of videos. So we encourage you to check out the website. It's a wealth of information. So be sure to check it out. And I just want to wrap up by letting you know of the different ways that you can connect with us. You can stay connected with the AAMC by pinging us on Twitter or Facebook. You can like our page. You can follow us. We are always posting every day, and you can follow us for information, resources, tips. You can also ask us questions to get quick responses. So we encourage you to do that. And then here's just a quick list of all of the resources that the AAMC offers. And I can leave this list up while we're answering questions. But we have information to help you as an aspiring physician, what's it really like to become an aspiring doc, information about the Summer Medical and Dental Education Program, which is a free 6-week program where you actually go and it's kind of like a mini medical school boot camp for 6 weeks on a medical campus, and you get to experience what it's really like to be a medical student, and that's for freshmen and sophomores. We have information about the medical school admissions requirements, which lists all the profiles for all of the accredited medical schools, as well as MD MD PhD programs. We also have information, again, about fee assistance, information about the application to medical school, as well as information to help you finance your way through medical school. And this is just to let you know how you can get in touch with us. Our website, again, has a ton of information, but if you have any questions or can't find something, you can, again, email us, you can call us. We have a wonderful contact center. And then, again, you can follow us on Twitter to ask your questions there. So with that, I will wrap up and let you all ask any questions that you might have, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Appreciate your time. And okay, so our first question, I think you touched on this, but maybe if you could just reiterate, when is the best time for someone to take the MCAT?
Sure. So again, the best time to take the MCAT exam is really when you are ready. But we touched on a few of those topics on things that you can think about when you're making that decision, such as know when you want to go to medical school, know your potential for having to retake the MCAT exam, know that you've mastered the content, also know how many times you can take the MCAT exam, as well as knowing that medical schools see all your scores. So again, it's important to take the exam when you're ready, but there are a couple of other things that you can think about when it's right for you. But many examinees do take the exam in the year prior to the year that they want to actually attend medical school.
Okay, great. Thank you. Our next question asks, what does it mean to void the exam?
So that's a great question. So on exam day, after you complete the last section on the exam, you will be taken to a screen that basically says, in better language than this, but basically says, do I want to score my exam, yes or no? If you choose yes, your exam will be scored. The you will receive a score report 30 to 35 days after. If you choose no, your exam will not be scored. It will be like it never happened. So the only people who will know that you took the exam are you. Medical schools will not know that you did not decide to score your exam, and many people who do choose to void the exam are because they didn't feel good about it, maybe they weren't feeling well, things like that. But to void your exam means to not score it.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, how long should you prepare for the MCAT?
So that's really up to the individual, but at the end of your exam, like a couple of days after, you'll receive something that's called the post-MCAT questionnaire. And it's basically a survey that asks you a bunch of questions about biographical information, like who you are, and things like how long did it take you to prepare X, Y, and Z. So one of the questions that is asked is how long did you prepare for the exam? And based on the responses from the 2014 PMQ, most students studied for about 3 to 4 months for 20 hours a week. But again, it's completely up to the individual.
That's great. This next question says, if I take the MCAT in 2016, how long is it valid for?
Medical schools will actually set how long they'll accept accept MCAT scores. Many accept it for 3 years, but if you look on the medical school admissions requirements, or if you just go to the medical school website, it'll tell you how long they'll accept scores.
Okay, great. Next question, is the level of difficulty of the actual exam the same as the online AAMC sample test or practice exam 1?
So the sample test and the practice exam are meant to be representative of the exam that you'll take on test day. That would be my answer to that. I've actually never taken the sample test or the practice exam, but they are supposed to be representative of what you'll see on test day.
Very good, thanks. This person says, I have previously applied to medical school and took the MCAT several times with 1 no-show. Do these prior attempts limit me, or are the 7 lifetime attempts only applicable since the recent limit modifications?
So so you've taken the old MCAT exam. So the lifetime limits were put into place as of April 2015. So if you've taken the old MCAT exam, even if you've taken it 20 times, those attempts don't count. So only the attempts taken from April 2015 and onward will count towards those 7 lifetime limits. So your slate's been wiped clean as of April 2015.
Very good. Okay, medical schools see all scores even if I took the old MCAT version prior to 2015? I guess that's, do MCAT, yes. You got it.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. So medical schools will see your scores prior to 2015. The AAMC will continue to report scores through the old MCAT scores through the 2019 AMCAS application cycle. And then at that point, I believe we won't be reporting old MCAT scores, but we will be reporting them to medical schools through the 2019 AMCAS application cycle.
Okay. Will voided exams count towards the lifetime limit of attempts?
Yes, that's correct. So if you void your exam or you don't actually show up on test day, those count towards one of your attempts.
Okay, and how many times can you void a test?
You can void the test up to 7 times, but then you have no more attempts. You know, we don't recommend that you void the MCAT exam it's a long exam. It does cost money. But medical schools will not see that you voided an exam multiple times. So that's just something to keep in mind. However, it will count towards your overall attempt limit. So the more times you void, the less times you have to actually score the exam and have it count.
Okay. This person says, I've heard that there are fewer physics questions on the new exam than have been on the old MCAT. Is this true? And if so, is there a list of topics that have been removed from the MCAT content outline?
So I would recommend that you look at the What's on the MCAT Exam tool to see the list of all of the physics content. It's not broken out by physics content. It has an indicator, which it has like a little key that says what's the physics content. We don't have a list of topics and subtopics that were once on the old MCAT exam and not on the new, and vice versa. But I just want to clarify that the exam, the old MCAT exam and the new MCAT exam are two completely different exams. They test different concepts and skills, so you can't really compare them that way. But I recommend that you go and look at the What's on the MCAT exam to see the list of physics concepts on the exam.
Okay, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I understand that there are different tests that people take on test day. So even if you've spoken to someone who maybe had fewer physics questions, that doesn't mean that yours will have less physics content. Is that accurate?
Right. So there are different tests, what we call forms. The person sitting next to you is likely not taking the same version that you're taking, and that's just for control of the test and the integrity of the exam.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking through the next questions here. Is it true that a quota system exists for medical school acceptance? Do Asian students have to score higher than the overall population to be a competitive applicant?
To be honest, I don't have an answer for that, and I am going to say no. Medical schools are taking what is called a holistic admissions process, so they're looking at the whole applicant. I don't know if medical schools, that might be a rumor, but I don't believe that there's like a specific amount that a medical school will have to fill for their class. So I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. That's something that you would have to ask the medical school.
Okay, yeah. All right, I posted a question on SDN from the official question pack, but no one has responded. Where could I ask questions from the MCAT practice resources, or where could they ask questions about those resources?
If you have questions about any of the practice materials, you can tweet us, you can call us, you can email us. There are also FAQs on the emcat.com website about each of the products. But if you have a specific question, we're happy to answer it here too.
I can actually answer this one. This person asks if the slides will be made available after the webinar. If you would like a copy of the slides, Lauren is going to email those to me. If you would like them, you can shoot me an email at webinars, WEBINARS, at studentdoctor.net, and I can get you a copy of those. That, I think, will about wrap us up for the evening. Thanks, Lauren, so much for being here with us tonight, and thanks to all of you who took an hour out of your evening to spend with us. We hope that you found this helpful, and we hope that it will help you as you work towards taking the MCAT. A couple of quick notes. First, if we didn't get to your question, You can contact the AAMC using the contact information you see on your screen. I'd also encourage you to check out their website. They've redone it recently and it looks great. It's really easy to find information now. You can also visit the Student Doctor Network forums, whether that's checking out our MCAT discussions forum or other places on the forums there. There's a lot of information about the MCAT and other aspects of getting into medical school. This webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel as well as all webinars that we have done in the past. You can check that out at youtube.com/studentdoctornetwork. You can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter where we are at Student Doctor for updates on when this webinar is available as well as other information that you may find helpful. So again, that will wrap us up. Thank you again, Lauren, and all of you have a great evening.